Happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode with Javon Wooden of Design Your Life and Business. And I am your host, Javon Wooden, speaker, author, business coach, and growth strategist. And today we are talking about how to stop procrastinating. It's perfect for a Sunday, right? Sunday, you're getting ready for the week or you're finishing up some key items for your week. So we're going to cover how to stop procrastinating. Now, I'm going to go a little bit in depth on this and give some research just so you know I know what I'm talking about here, and it may help you out. So we not only talk about how to stop procrastinating, but why procrastination takes place in the first place. So it's going to be a good one. Tune in. Make sure you drop in your comments in the comment section and also share this post. You can go ahead and share it out with your network because we want to get more eyes on it. Procrastination is a huge, huge issue, especially in the United States. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it and put your comments in the chat. And then let me know if you love it. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, share everything so you don't miss these, right? I'm going live every day of March. If I miss one, y'all hold me accountable, okay? Let's get into it. All right, so according to researcher and speaker Pierce Steele, 95% of people procrastinate at some degree. Now, if you think about it, it's not that shocking, right? Most of us procrastinate, we end up doing something else instead. Okay, that's a given. But procrastination is often confused with laziness, but they are actually very different, right? Procrastination is an active process. You choose to do something else when you should be working on something else, maybe that important project. All right. In contrast, laziness actually suggests apathy, inactivity, and an unwillingness to act. So two different things, right? It's just that you're replacing something when you're talking about procrastination with something else. All right. So we also know that procrastination it usually involves ignoring something unpleasant, but likely more important task in favor of one that is more enjoyable or easier. Can you relate to that? But giving in to the impulse, it just has serious consequences, right? Maybe you had that paper you should have write, you should have met that deadline, and now you're working to the 11th hour to knock it out. That sucks for most people, right? Some of y'all say you work better under pressure. Might be a myth, might be a reason or an excuse why you do it. Okay. So we want to make sure that you're not just making excuses on why you keep delaying your task. All right. So if we procrastinate over a long period of time, it makes you demotivated or disillusioned with your work, right? Which what I said, you might think that you're performing better than you actually are, or you may start believing that you perform better under pressure, when in actuality, humans, we just work to time. Whatever time that we're given, we tend to fill that time frame. So if you got to write a paper and you were given it 5 weeks ago, you tend to take 5 weeks to write it. Maybe you write a paragraph here, a paragraph here. Whereas if you're working at the 11th hour, you're going to do what you need to do, right? So we have to think about that. And I'll cover some ways to utilize that to our advantage versus our disadvantage later on. So stick with me here. All right. So we know that procrastination is when you decide to replace one task, usually more important, with something else that isn't as important or is just easier. All right. Or maybe it's more enjoyable. All right. So how do we stop that? How do we stop and overcome procrastination? Here we go. Number one is recognize that you're procrastinating. We're here all the time. Step one is always acknowledging, right? Acknowledging that you have a problem. So you want to recognize that you are procrastinating. Don't make an excuse for it. Understand and literally say, like, all right, I'm procrastinating. I need to get to it. All right. So you might be putting off that task because you have to reprioritize your workload. If you're delaying an important task for a good reason, then you aren't necessarily procrastinating. However, if you start to put things off or switch focus just because you're trying to avoid something, then that's procrastination. So recognize the difference between the two. So you're also procrastinating if you fill your day with low priority tasks. I talk about it all the time. Having a task list doesn't not mean that you are being purposeful, and it doesn't mean you're being productive. It just makes you feel good, right? Low priority tasks, you're checking a bunch of them off. doesn't necessarily move the needle forward. So look at what you're doing. Look at how you're spending your day. Make sure you're putting those important tasks on your calendar and getting reminded of when they need to be done. All right, and stick to it. The second thing to let you know that you may be procrastinating is if you leave an item on your to-do list for a long time, even though it's important, you just keep moving it to the next day. Well, I'll do it tomorrow. That's procrastination, and it can be very, very detrimental to your productivity and your health and life. So don't think that what we need to get done in our careers, our business, doesn't impact you long term, because it does. That starts filtering over into your life. So pay attention. The third way that you know that you may be procrastinating is if you read an email or a letter or something over and over again without making a decision on what to do. If you constantly struggle with decision making and just moving forward, you're procrastinating in a form. All right, which is might be one of the worst forms, because you're struggling with decision making, which that can lead to a lot of issues when you're wishy-washy like that. What's going on, Curtis? Thanks for joining, King. All right. So another way is if you start the task, right, the high priority task, and then you go do something else immediately, right? You're like, oh, I'll come back in 5 minutes. Next thing you know, 5 minutes pass, you turn on Netflix and you're streaming all day, binge watching on a Sunday. That's just an example, okay? So think about that. Make sure you're being intentional. Another way is you fill your time with unimportant tasks that other people ask you to do. So their priority becomes your priority, even though you know you have something you need to be doing versus going out to brunch on Sunday. All right. So think about how you're spending your time. If someone else mentions something that sounds more interesting to you, but you know you need to be hunkering down, finishing a task that's highly important, make sure you're doing that highly important task first. Use the more enjoyable things as a reward for completing that task. And you'll start getting into the habit of that, seeing the enjoyable things as a reward versus just everyday life, the lifestyle. So think about that. It's mindset shift. The other way you're procrastinating, you wait to be in the right mood. So as adults, we know adulting sucks sometimes, but it is key for us to know that it's not about what you feel like doing all the time. If we waited to we felt like doing something, there would be a lot of things we just would never do, and society would not be as far forward, because there has to be some people who say, you know what, it's not about me feeling, it's about me having to do this, me getting to do this. Really, it is a privilege to be able to do most of what we get to do, and we have to look at it as such. So don't wait till you feel like doing something. If you need to do it or you should be doing it, go ahead and do it. And maybe you don't sit and try to take care of the whole thing at one time. Break it into pieces. Pomodoro technique is a really, really good way to do that, right? Maybe you work for 20 minutes, break for 5 minutes, and you keep doing that until you get into a cycle, and maybe stretch it out a little longer to work a little longer and keep that break maybe the same or add 5 minutes. My ratio I like to do, I try to do, I'm not going to say I'm always good at it, is I go 50 to 10. So 50 minutes straight work, 10 minutes break, and that keeps me fresh, keeps me able to process the data, whatever information, or if I'm stuck on something, it allows me to take a breather so I can get back to it and come back with a fresh perspective. So think about those. Number two on how you overcome procrastination: work out why you're procrastinating. This is a big, big thing. I always talk about finding your why. Well, this is another why you can find. Why are you procrastinating? Right? You need to understand those reasons, because they may come up at certain situations, and you need to pay attention to your patterns. So, for instance, if you avoid a particular task because you find it boring or unpleasant, right? Maybe you take a steps to get it out the way quickly. Maybe you break it down and then maybe find a way to gamify it, find a way to make it a little more interesting. Find someone who has to do the same task. Y'all work together. Whatever it is, you have to find a solution. Once you understand why you're doing it, it's easier to find that solution. Another way you could be why you're procrastinating is poor organization or time management. Maybe you just find it difficult to focus because you all the pieces that you need to succeed are disheveled or all over the place. Look at that. And then you can go ahead and plan your success. If you know that you're procrastinating on a task because you don't have the tools or resources, put them all in one spot, the place you need to perform the task at, and let it be more easy, flow more easily with you. I'm guarantee you that'll work. So it also could be that even if you're organized, you just feel overwhelmed. So you're doubting your ability. I don't want to use that imposter syndrome term. I don't really like it, but you're doubting your ability. You're feeling like maybe you're a little in over your head. That could be another reason why. Some people feel failure. Some people fear success, right? So you have to look at, is it based on a fear? Is it fear induced that you start procrastinating? If so, how do you address that fear? Chances are you have to address the fear head on. But again, support is important. You can support yourself by getting tools that help you. You know, if you know that you're procrastinating because you're just being distracted, get a productivity tool. You know, find something that blocks all your windows so you can't look and search the internet. Get off your phone, use a separate device. Put your phone somewhere else. Take away all the distractions that are really causing you to procrastinate. If it's failure, find a way where you can take it one at a time. Which piece of the task causes that fear? If you're, for instance, a speaking engagement, people fear public speaking more than they fear debt. Why do you fear that public speaking gig? Is it because of the amount of people? Is it because you're afraid of messing up? Find that fear, and then you can find a way to alleviate that fear, and then that'll help you move forward. Just stop making it worse than what it is, because that's usually what happens. We turn a molehill into a mountain, and then it seems insurmountable. So break it up, realize why you're doing it, and find reasons to be great instead of the excuses to be mediocre. All right, number 3, adopt anti-procrastination strategies. I told you one, remove all of the distractions. Use your calendar is another one. Make sure you're blocking out that time. Turn off all notifications so you're not getting dinged all over the place, because we know that multitasking is a myth. When you try to multitask, it takes you at least 10 minutes to get back to the task you're working on. So remove all the distractions if you can, right? Sometimes if we're at work or something, or we have a family, maybe it's not that easy, but you want to set those boundaries. Boundaries is one of the best anti-procrastination things you can do, right? So what it is procrastination becomes a habit, and we have to reverse that habit, which is deeply ingrained in your pattern of behavior. So to break the pattern, we have to replace it with something else. So I talked about the easy or fun things being rewards. So that can change a habit quickly. So what you want to do is reward yourself for not procrastinating, and make sure it's a positive reward, something that reinforces the behavior. So for instance, if you're procrastinating on a work task, maybe you do that Pomodoro technique, work 20 minutes. On that 5-minute break, maybe you allow yourself to search social media for 5 minutes if that's what's causing you to procrastinate. Then, soon as 5 minutes is up, soon as that alarm goes off that you set, being responsible, you go back to work. You put that phone somewhere else. 20 minutes again, or whatever you say your work time is. Go back 5 minutes. You reward yourself again. Make it a habit to do it that way versus replacing the important task with the unimportant task. All right. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be perfect. I'm not saying that. Right? It's hard. Even me, I procrastinate too. Right? We all do. We heard that quote earlier, or that stat. 95% of us procrastinate at some point. So you have to forgive yourself when you're procrastinating. Don't beat yourself up, because that's not going to do anything, but make you start loathing yourself or loathing the situation or circumstance. So forgive yourself and move forward. Find a way to move forward. Self-forgiveness is scientifically proven to make you feel more positive about yourself and build your confidence and your resilience. So remember that. Another way is to commit to a task. Commit to doing it, like I was saying. Commit to a time frame that you're going to give towards that task and get it done. No other way to sugarcoat it, no other way to say it. Get it done if it's important. And then, like I said, promise yourself a reward. Promise yourself that reward. If you know that you struggle with sweets and you're on a workout routine, maybe you have a cheat meal that includes your favorite dessert. That's your reward. So while you're going through agony and going through that pain of working out and getting fit and improving your lifestyle and fitness levels, think about that. At the end of the week, you get that chocolate cake or whatever your dessert of choice is. Ask someone to hold you accountable. Tell them to check on you. Get a set schedule for getting that accountability check in. And then also, I'm gonna add, get a goal buddy, somebody who's working toward the same task. Keep one another on track. Do it together if you can. Keep one another on track, and that's going to help you. Gamify it a little bit. Maybe you put a friendly bet on it, a friendly wager. Just have something that holds you accountable, that actually resonates with you, something that means a lot to you, or someone that means a lot to you. And then act as you go. Tackle the task as soon as they arrive instead of letting them build up. We know that if you put a dish in the sink, it's not so bad, right? If I put that fork down. But if I continue to keep putting dishes in, eventually it's going to pile up. And that's when it looks like it's way worse than what it would have been if I would just address that dish when I came to the sink in the first place. So just look at it like that. Like wash that dish or do that task as soon as you get it. So you're not building it up. All right. Rephrase your internal dialogue. The way you're speaking to yourself is very important. Earlier, I said you get to do that task. You get to perform a lot of these things that we're putting off. Look at it that way. Reframe instead of saying I need to or I have to. That is going to help you. And you can also say I choose to do this. Now, inherently, you may not have chosen it, but maybe it's the next step in your natural progression. Look at it as a positive. So aim to eat an elephant beetle, not an elephant. First thing every day. The small task. Get your first win in. Don't worry about the elephant, right? Just a little bug, just a little piece. And that's going to help you out, build your win, your confidence muscle, your habit muscle, forming positive habits. All right. So all of these things will increase the value of your and make it worthwhile, the value of that task, because you're rewarding yourself for it. You're not going through the motions. You're seeing it as a positive. You're seeing it as a part of your growth, and you're seeing it as a natural progression. And then if you add that support, you have someone else who's invested in it with you, someone hopefully who's very important to you, whose opinion matters, and someone who's not going to belittle you but uplift you and keep you going to the finish line. All right. So remember also to forgive yourself if you do backtrack, because there's 6 steps to change. And usually in the first 3, you're going to regress. You may even make it through all 6 and backtrack, but give yourself grace. All right. We are human. So I mentioned that being disorganized is one of the reasons. I'm going to give you 6 quick ways to get over that. All right. If your disorganization is your reason for procrastinating. Number 1, keep a to-do list. It helps. And make sure the meaningful tasks are on that. Number 2, prioritize your to-do list. Now, there's something called Eisenhower's urgent or important principle, and this will enable you to identify those tasks quickly. I'll cover it a little bit more for you to help you out. All right. Number 3, become a master of scheduling and project planning. There are a ton of apps that help you that will do that. Asana, Notion, Monday, a Google Sheet can help. Your calendar can help. You can go old school as you want to, writing it down in a daily planner, whatever it is, that's going to help. And I do have the Own Your Kingdom daily planner. If you're interested, shoot me a DM and I got you. All right. Number 4 is tackle the hardest task at your peak times. Everyone has the circadian rhythm. What is the best time for you to perform? Mine is in the morning. Yours may be in the afternoon. So find when you're the most alert, when you have the most energy, and get those important tasks done at that time, if it aligns with when the task needs to be done. All right. Number 5, set your time bound goals. Make sure you say a by when, time, and date. When are you going to get that done? Number 6, use task and time management apps. I mentioned a few. And also, if you need a productivity app to block your web browsing, use that too. There are a few out. Just search it. Just Google it. So if you think that you're overwhelmed or you're feeling it, organize your product into smaller tasks. Don't even worry about the big picture. I know a lot of us have that type of thinking. If you're a visionary, you probably see the bigger overarching thing. All right. So find out the way you look at things, and that's going to help you. So I'm gonna break it down for you one more time. Anti-procrastination techniques are: break large tasks into small, more actionable pieces. Set concrete deadlines for yourself. Eliminate distractions from your environment. Count to 10 before you indulge in the impulse to procrastinate. Count to 10. And I also say you can count backwards from 5. That helps as well. Get committed. Get yourself started by committing to work for only 5 minutes. Small wins count. Right? 5 minutes. We can all work for 5 minutes. Come on now. 5 minutes, and then increase it incrementally, and then try to get to that 50 or whatever works for you. All right. Or you can use the Pomodoro technique, work 20, break for 5. Just find the strategies that work. Mark streaks days for which you complete the task. I always tell my clients, like, purchase a physical calendar, put an X every day you didn't procrastinate, every day you completed the task that was on your to-do list that matter, put an X on that day. See how many you can string. My rule of thumb is never miss twice. When you start missing 2 days in a row, that's when you get yourself in trouble. All right, visualize your future self, because your future self will thank you for being on time and not procrastinating. Reward yourself for your accomplishments. Set your celebration mode in place early before you even start the task so you know what you're looking forward to. Avoid a perfectionist mindset because, as I said, you may fall backwards. It's okay. Forgive yourself if you regress, if you start procrastinating again. Just identify it and do something about it. Focus on your goals instead of the task. Right? And that's it. So two ways that you could prioritize. I mentioned the Eisenhower method, which is called the Eisenhower matrix. So this one involves categorizing each task, and you base it whether it's important or unimportant, and based on whether it's urgent or not urgent, and then prioritize it based on those. There's also the Ivy Lee method. This method involves preparing a to-do list at the end of each day. I like to do this one because then it lets me know as soon as I sit down at my computer what I need to be working on. All right, and then you rank them in order of importance. You can also use time boxing. Time boxing is just saying, I'm going to give myself X amount of time for this particular task, and I'm going to do deep work, as Cal Newport calls it. That's all I'm going to be working on. No, nothing can come in place of that. I let everybody know I'm going to be busy. Don't expect me to answer emails or anything else. That's time boxing. So I hope this helped. I know it's on Sunday. I know you're spending time doing what you love. Hopefully, you're spending time with family, friends, loved ones, or you're preparing for the week. But tune in, rewatch this if there will be a replay. Catch it, share with anyone who may benefit from it. And I will see you tomorrow, bright and early in the morning. It's Javon Wooden once again, and I'm helping you design a life or business you don't need a vacation from. Peace and blessings.